Good evening, 49er faithful. Welcome to another live 49ers Mailbag playoff edition. Very excited to be here. Very excited for the 49ers to have made it to the postseason in 2021, technically 2022, in the 2021 season. Very excited about the matchup, the Dallas Cowboys. This is a classic. Harkens back to my days of Candlestick Park, me and my brother, me and my dad, hanging out at Candlestick, going to the playoffs seemingly every single year, and constantly matched up with the Dallas Cowboys in the early to mid 90s. But that last playoff matchup against the Cowboys was in 1995, and we haven't seen them in the postseason since. But here we are, going to Dallas with the season on the line. Playoffs, baby. It is time, and I am excited. I hope all of you are excited as well. We got people arriving early. Eric Gomez with the support. Appreciate that. Always appreciate the love. Ellis 10, one of the sneakerheads of the channel. What's up, my guy and the faithful? I'm so excited we made it to the postseason. Ellis, I am excited as well. We do need to get this thing going. Sean951, another one of our sneakerheads here. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Karthik in the house. Hey, Rob, time to get frickin' pumped. Yes, it is. Jose is already making predictions about a nice, solid victory for the 49ers over the Cowboys, 30-17. I love it. I love Sean's ask or prediction here of running the ball 45 times. Dallas will break. I do think running the ball is going to be a key to this one, no question about it. San Francisco 49ers coming in, glad that he made it in time. I can't have notifications on at work. No, you can't have the bell going off at work. That's a bad thing. You want to make sure that you just set it in the calendar reminder so it seems like every one of your other work meetings that happens. Big J in the house. Rob, it's playoff time. Yes, it is. Cook Smoke Sports. Greetings, Rob. Let's beat those boys. Go Niners. Yes. Javier Rios, one of our sneakerheads on the channel. So ready for this to happen. So as you get a sense, people are pumped for this one. People are pumped for the mailbag. People are more pumped for the playoff game. And that's what most of the mailbag questions were about. The matchup against Dallas. It's the playoffs. We are done celebrating Los Angeles. That victory was won for the record books. We may have a little celebration toward the end of this one. If you guys stick around, I'm looking at doing a dramatic reading of Ann Killian's article in the San Francisco Chronicle. I thought it was fantastic. It played both sides of the Jimmy Garoppolo story. If you guys stick around, I'm going to read that one because I think that would be a fun way to go out, a positive way to end this mailbag. But as always, as with other mailbags, the way this works is I will go through the previously submitted questions. Most of those, all of those today came in via Twitter. So I am going to get into those topics. If you have a mailbag question that you want to put in here live, throw it in the chat, add in the @Rob or @RobShoe so that when I come back from reading the previously submitted mailbag questions, I can get to yours. And if you do want to submit a mailbag question at any random time during the week, just hit me at 49ersmailbag@gmail.com. 49ersmailbag@gmail.com. All right, I am getting into the previously submitted questions. This one is getting us off on a good foot. This one is asking for the ultimate outcome. Is it possible for the 49ers to have a home playoff game against the Eagles? Ryan C. coming in via Twitter. Ryan, I am glad that you asked this because, yes, indeed, it is possible for the 49ers to have a home playoff game this year in the 2022 postseason. I mean, it's weird because it's the 2021 postseason, but it's 2022. I'm going to be mixing that up all night. So bear with me. Here's how it goes down. It would have to be the NFC Championship game. How wild would that be? After this season, after everything the 49ers have been through, after starting out 3-5, to host an NFC Championship game at Levi's Stadium would be the wildest turn on this frickin' roller coaster, baby. Here's how it would need to go down. The Niners obviously have to beat Dallas on Sunday. Philly would need to beat Tampa. Philly then goes on to play and beat Green Bay in Green Bay as the number 1 seed. We would need to beat the winner of the Rams-Cards game at their stadium, wherever that may be, LA, our home away from home, or Arizona. Voila, we have a home playoff game for the NFC Championship if those things happen. If they unfold in that particular scenario, the Niners would host the NFC Championship game. Easy peasy. I mean, all of those are expected outcomes, right? You expect the Eagles to go in and beat Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks, right? But hey, there is a chance, and that is all we need because we are not the 7 seed. There's one team we could host. It would just need to be for all the marbles in the playoffs. Looking at our next previously submitted question, this one here by CG Ruthless. CG Ruthless has his own YouTube channel. Good dude. He asks, how can we stop Dak Prescott? To me, you got to look at this. It is the number 1 offense in the league. The number 1 offense in the league. Extremely efficient. Very deadly. It's more about slowing Dak Prescott than it is about stopping him. It's an elite wide receiver group, even after the loss of Michael Gallup. That was sort of tragic. The touchdown catch against Arizona blows out the ACL, done for the year. He's a free agent, end of the season. Brutal for him. I feel badly for Michael Gallup, but that still leaves a 3-headed monster at wide receiver and a very legitimate tight end. CeeDee Lamb, 1,100 plus yard season. Amari Cooper, 850 plus yard season. Dalton Schultz at tight end, 800 plus yard season. And Cedric Wilson filling in at that 3rd wide receiver spot, really coming on later in the season with 600 plus yards receiving. And then you have an elite rushing attack, right? I mean, you have Ezekiel Elliott, 1,000-yard rusher for Zeke, league best 1-2 punch in my book with Pollard averaging 5.5 yards per carry on 130 attempts. So to me, this one is about attacking the head of the monster. This one is about pressuring Dak. It's about hitting him, even if you don't get the sack. It's about making him uncomfortable. It's about forcing turnovers. Dak only has 10 interceptions on the league. Almost a 4-to-1 touchdown to interception rate. Very efficient as a passer, but he does have 30 sacks and 9 fumbles as well. He's recovered, or the Cowboys have recovered the majority of those, but you would think that sets up a potential situation where the 49ers can get in there for one of those vaunted sack fumbles that can really change the game. I do think hitting and pressuring Dak consistently will be the key to slowing this Dallas attack. And again, that's my stance, that really you're only going to be able to slow it. I don't know that you're going to be able to stop it entirely. They are a very efficient offensive unit for the Dallas Cowboys. All right, I want to see what your comments and questions here are live before I get back into the previously submitted questions. So again, I'm looking for that at Rob or at Rob Shoe if you have a question in there. I see some of the folks using that already. Swift Dog Niner coming in. Swift Dog 49er at Rob Shoe. Let's go 49ers. You and the faithful are... I can't see what that little icon is, but the goat, cat, Bengal, I'll take it. It's a compliment no matter what. I appreciate it, Swift Dog 49er. All right, Niner Faithful. This is a suggestion from Niner Faithful. Run heavy game and swarming the passer with San Francisco getting the W. I do think that is the Niners' plans when you boil it all down to one sentence. That is their plan. Chris Royal coming in, one of our sneakerheads on the channel. Chris, good to see you. At Rob, I'm so glad we got Dallas this year. Tell me about it. Great matchup for the 49ers, not just from a perspective of the historical significance to this game, the emotions that are attached to it for all of us that went to games in the 80s. Let's go back further because I didn't see any games in the 70s, but the Niners and Cowboys had a rivalry back then as well. And so, yes, the 70s, 80s, 90s, these teams were at each other's throats, and it was very violent in those 90s games. All of the Super Bowls were decided in the NFC Championship when those two teams played. You knew that whoever won that game was going on to win the Super Bowl because they were just so dominant. This was before the intervention of the salary cap, which was basically brought in to stop Eddie DeBartolo from his dominance over the league because Eddie D had no fear about spending that money. And you know he would have continued to pay those free agents. We would have re-signed Deion Sanders. We would have brought back Charles Haley. And we would have continued our dominance in the 90s if not for the NFL and that salary cap. So we are really excited to get Dallas on the docket. All right, Karthik at Rob. Well, Rob, if you think about it, the Rams don't have a proficient game. That's why Stafford struggled. But the Cowboys do have one with a big boy, Zeke Elliott, and we need to bring all 11. Yes, if we do need to handle the Cowboys running game, I'm going to hit on that in a little bit. I do believe part of our success will come from making the Cowboys one-dimensional. And Karthik, I'm going to use that as the springboard into the next topic, which was really a continuation of the previous topic that I had previously submitted. It was a similar but different question in the mailbag, so let's bring that in. It's not just how can we stop Dak Prescott, it's specifically from Swan Song here. How will the 49ers defend Dak Prescott and the quick game specifically? So when I looked at this, I wanted to see a team that had done it successfully, went back and looked at the Arizona highlights. Just a couple of weeks ago, the Arizona Cardinals were able to stymie the Dallas Cowboys and importantly, limit that rushing attack. And I do think that's critical for the San Francisco 49ers to do as well. Make them one-dimensional because in that instance where you're able to stop the run, take away that dimension on the offense, you can be that much faster to the ball. I think tackling will be paramount in this one. The 49ers are going to attempt to keep everything in front of them and make tackles. This is going to be a big game for Jimmy Ward, who I would view as maybe one of, if not the best tacklers on the 49ers defense. Because what you want to do with this offense is get them into third and long situations. You want to be stout against the run on early downs. You want to keep those passes in front of you. Don't allow the deep shots. And then get them into those third and long situations where you can pin your ears back and just get after Dak Prescott. That, to me, will be the key of holding them in check just a little bit. Get them into those third and longs. DeMeco Ryans will most likely, and Arizona did this with great effectiveness, DeMeco Ryans will need to have some well-timed blitzes to force some pressure and some bad decisions by Dak Prescott. You're going to want to try to get one of those vaunted interceptions off of Dak. He's only thrown 10 on the year, but if you can get some pressure and force the turnover, that would be huge. And then I think that on the outside, you're going to be ready for a lot of screens and a lot of play action. But successfully stopping the run as the first key in this instance is going to make it easier to limit those other factors. It's going to make it easier to stop those screens. It's going to make it easier to be fast on coming toward the ball and tackling when receivers make that reception. And the play action is going to be less effective if the run game itself is less effective. A big key here is going to be what is the nickel coverage on Wilson, the slot receiver, because he has been electric. He was electric against Arizona in that game. He's continued to come on in the second half of the season, in particular after the Gallup injury in that game. So how do the 49ers do that? Well, you've got to hope that the Shark is back. K'Wan Williams to be all over that man. And then follow the recipe that either Arizona or Denver was able to pull off. For Arizona, it was absolutely about stuffing the run. If the 49ers can stuff the run against Dallas, I truly believe this game will tilt in their favor. All right, getting back into your comments, looking for the @RobShoe to know when you're talking to me. Jesse coming in. @RobShoe, I want this win almost as much as a Super Bowl. I hate the Cowboys. My wife is a Cowboys fan, so it's war on our home Sunday. That is going to be a tense atmosphere, Jesse. I do not envy you or your wife in that scenario. One of you is going to be devastated. The other one is probably going to be celebrating foolishly and maybe sleeping on the couch. For our sake, I hope it's you sleeping on the couch, Jesse. I hope that you are the one who is, restrained and not taunting when the 49ers do pull this one out. But yes, that is going to be a war zone for you. I look forward to it. Let us know how that turns out. Eduardo, @Rob, I was hearing the Cowgirls say they are going to shut down our run game. LOL, what a joke. That has to be their game plan coming in, because it sets up as a 49ers strength against the Cowboys' weakness in being able to defend the run. The Cowboys have allowed a lot of rushing yards so far this season. Going to be interesting to see just what they do to try and sell out and stop the run. And can Jimmy make them pay when they do? Sean 951 Niners, @RobShoe, the Cowboys are the Bengals on offense. They are built to rush the passer on D, and we should run all over them. And the front four can do what they do. Also, our linebackers are fast, better than Dallas's running backs. Those are definitely some of the keys to the game, Sean. I'm in total agreement with you that the Dallas defense is built to get after the passer. In particular, Micah Parsons has been an extremely effective pass rusher this season with 13 sacks. He was within spitting distance of the rookie sack record, but was unable to get there, missed that 17th game due to COVID. But he will be back. He will be back. Tommy Huxley coming in. If we don't beat the Cowgirls, I will just... I think that's what you meant by those faces there. But there was probably some swearing in there as well, Tommy. And I couldn't reenact that for you. Fricka. That was my best PG-13 version of what I'm guessing came out of your mouth in envisioning a loss there. Sean 951 Niners, @RobShoe, we need to wear the 49ers 94 red jerseys. Bring it back. Yes, I heard the Cowboys are going to be in their white home jerseys, a whiteout game. I think the Niners could have put in a petition to try and get that red 94 approved. I don't know if they did. I haven't heard anything about it yet. We'll see something from beat reporters if they do. The organization will announce it. Swan Song coming in. @RobShoe, the 92 NFC Championship game loss took some of my soul away, and the 94 NFC Championship returned it back to me. I'm telling you, that 94 championship game was unfreaking believable. That was the last game I attended in person that season. Didn't make it to the Super Bowl that year, unfortunately. I have attended the more recent 2 Super Bowls, but missed out on the 94 one. And yes, that game, that NFC Championship game at Candlestick was unreal in 94. Unfreaking real. And it did lift the spirits of all of us that were tired of losing to the freaking Cowboys to end the season. Ramsey, @RobShoe, we have been in the playoffs for the last 6 weeks already. We need to get the sea of red out there. Ramsey, yes, it has been win or go home for a while now for the Niners, so I think they are battle tested. We shall see Sunday. Moses, @RobShoe, my hatred towards the Cowboys runs deep since the 90s. Moses, you are not alone there. A lot of Niner faithful have a deep despise of the Cowboys, and that is bubbling up to the surface this week. The more we watch those highlights of the 80s and 90s, the more it will froth in our mouths, and we will relish the idea of shredding the Cowboys on Sunday. San Francisco 49ers, @RobShoe, I think the key is for our defense to play the way they've been playing, and our offense needs to get better at pass protection. I will talk about having to have time to get rid of the ball in just a little bit, San Francisco. I believe that is going to be key because the Cowboys are selling out to stop the run. Why wouldn't they? The San Francisco 49ers are an extremely efficient rushing team, and we are going to attempt to stick to our identity there. So the Cowboys will attempt to eliminate that. The way to make them pay is over-the-top shots. It'd be interesting to see what we hit and what we dial up. Young Leak TV comes in at Rob. These folks must not be doing their homework on us Cowboys. Think this is a cakewalk. They're going to be shocked on Sunday. Young Leak, what I will point out is I do not believe this is going to be an easy game for the 49ers. And I think the enthusiasm that you're seeing is more a reflection of people's hatred towards the Cowboys than of their belief that this will be an easy one for the 49ers. It does set up to be strength against weakness for the 49ers, but the same could be said for the other way around. When you're talking about the Dallas Cowboys and their three-headed monster at wide receiver with a very talented tight end, 4 talented pass catchers, 2 talented running backs, and an elite level quarterback against a struggling secondary that is just starting to find their legs. So I agree, this one has the potential to be a very close one. Ramsey, at Rob Shue, Easy has a bad knee already. We can just rush 4, and most teams need more on the line to get the same pressure we get. It will be interesting to see if we do send some creative blitzes. Arizona did, and they got home. You saw some from DeMeco Ryans against the Rams. I would anticipate a few well-timed blitzes. But yes, we get a lot of pressure with our front 4 on the defensive line. Moses, at Rob Shue, one key is to control CD Lamb in the slot, which the nickel corner needs to control him. Let's all hope that K1 Williams, the Shark, is up to the task. He will be back. Jimmy Ward will be out there in coverage. I think that we set up nicely there. Chris Royal, are we expecting Azeez to be up and ready? It is unknown at this point. It looks like it's a strong possibility, but I think we need to see a couple of practices strung together this week to know for sure. All right, got another super chat. I got to get to those. I will come back to look at any of the comments that I missed in the meantime so that I don't miss any of your questions. And we'll go back over to some of the previously submitted ones as well. Brian Rivera coming in. Worried about Jimmy's thumb in the postseason. If Trey has to step in, that will be too much pressure on the Rook, especially if injury is in game. But let's just say that most teams in the NFL, if you lose your starting quarterback in the playoffs to injury, now I realize Jimmy's thumb is hanging on by a thread, right? And that makes it a little more trepidatious here. But anyone who loses their starting quarterback is in a world of hurt. And I would say that the 49ers are better off because of the fact that they have the rookie back there. And I do think that he is going to be more ready than most to step in and handle that pressure. Trey Lance seems reasonably unflappable to me. He seems like a very confident dude, someone who is consistently training and preparing as if he needs to start. And it's that type of mentality that will at least have him as prepared as he possibly can be without getting additional practice reps, because those will probably be going mostly to Jimmy G. Although you could see a scenario where Trey Lance is getting some of the first team practice reps to limit the number of snaps Jimmy's taking with that thumb, to limit the number of throws Jimmy's making in practice with that thumb. So potentially Trey is actually more ready after this week than he was coming into the game against Los Angeles. Sean 9519ers, one of our sneakerheads. Young Leak TV doesn't realize Jerry World will be a readout and 49ers home game. Dallas has not played a team like us. Arizona ate them up, and we are hungry. I was there in 2014 where the Red Sea took over that game. Eric Reed, I think, had multiple picks in that one. It unraveled quickly in the first quarter for Dallas, and it was absolutely a home game from there on out. I would expect the 49ers fan base to travel well to this one. I don't know that it'll be the same level as 2014. I'm not sure it will be the same level as the Rams game was last week, but I absolutely do expect there to be far more red than you would think at a Cowboys home playoff game, and Jerry is going to be pissed. And I hope they show his face when you can hear the roar of the San Francisco 49ers fans in that crowd. I want to see a pissed Jerry Jones. I don't necessarily take joy in other people's misery, but come on, a little bit of misery for Jerry Jones. I don't feel too bad for him. He's a billionaire. He's had a lot of things go right in his life. I think he can take a little bit of hardship as we take over his stadium. I'm hoping that is the case. All right, I'm going to get back into some of the previously submitted questions. I will be back to yours in just a second. If I skipped over your question and it was an @RobShoe, copy and paste it back in, because I'm going to come back at this point and go from there, reading off the currently submitted live questions. All right, going back to one of our previously submitted questions here. Moving on from Dak to Deebo, someone I'm a little more passionate about than Dak Prescott. This one comes in from Genuine Waruna. What's up, Waruna? Another one of our sneakerheads here on the channel. Waruna asks, is Deebo the MVP of the season? And follow-up question, sir, can we start Deebo at quarterback? So I know that Waruna is asking that lightheartedly. I know that he's smiling as he types that. But as far as MVP goes, I'm speaking specifically about the San Francisco 49ers, MVP of the team. And in that one, I think he has to be. Over 1,700 yards from scrimmage. He does everything this team asks of him. He is the tone setter on offense. Those tree trunks for legs. He puts them into the ground. The physics of it just boggles the mind. The torque he generates with each stride gets him up to speed faster than anyone else in the league. It's wild to me just how quickly he reaches his top speed. He may not be a top-end speed guy, but he gets from 0 to 60 so freaking quick. It's unbelievable. And then let's point out he's come up clutch in nearly every game this year. Only missed one game to injury and has been Mr. Reliable every other game he has been in there. Teams have been trying to scheme to take him away for months now and have been unsuccessful in being able to do it. And it's opened up things for Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. So his presence on the field has improved the play of other players as well. The only other candidate on the team for this would be Trent Williams in my book. Best left tackle in the league, bar none. Bar none. Mark my words there. The man deserves credit for the type of season that he put on tape. Unbelievable for a left tackle in the league. There is zero question in my mind who was the best left tackle in the NFL in 2021. It was Trent Williams, and it was Trent Williams by a frickin' mile. You can't tell me otherwise. For me, in the second part of this question, getting Deebo at QB would be very nice because he throws touchdowns on 50% of his passes. So you can, sort of map that out and see how many touchdowns on the season he would have had if you gave him 100 pass attempts. Maybe only 50% completion, but 50 touchdowns on the year. No, the way he sold out for the run and was able to get that pass off and then take the shot for the team. Again, it goes back to setting the tone. It goes back to doing everything that is asked of him. Just an amazing season for Deebo Samuel. Can I get a little Deebo appreciation in the chat? I think I probably can. I think I probably did while I was talking. I'm getting back into your comments now again. If I missed one of your comments, do the @RobShoe and copy and paste that thing back in. Don't do it 100 times, but do it a couple of times. Do it once to get it back in later on. And that way I will see it and I'll get to it because that's how I roll. All right, I am back to where I started, looking for the @RobShoe to know the questions are coming at me. There's some trash talk going on in the chat on occasion, and that's okay because it seems rather friendly, and that's good. Brian Culp, @Rob, the Niners beat Dallas. We probably have to play the Packers. Your thoughts? Yeah, the only way in which, if the Niners beat Dallas, the only way in which we do not play the Packers is if the Eagles beat Tampa Bay. Which is not out of the realm of possibilities, though. Let's be very clear about that. Tampa Bay is getting back some key players. I think having Leonard Fournette will make a huge difference for them. Levante David, very underrated, which is weird to say Levante David is underrated because just a couple years ago, people were shouting his name from the rooftops. But this year, they seem to have fallen off in recognizing just how good of a linebacker he is. Getting him back, getting Fournette back. You remember what Fournette did in the playoffs last year. I mean, that dude trucked some people. If he gets back to form, pack a defense and a run game and go into the playoffs, see what happens. That's a recipe for success. Tampa Bay has that. And, oh, by the way, Tom Brady. So it's possible that they could lose. They are down a couple of wide receivers. Obviously, my watch wants to talk to me here. It's really liking me. Anyway, I'm going to try and shut Siri up. Is that, yes, I think that there is a possibility for the Eagles to beat Tampa Bay. I think it's a slim chance, though, even with Tampa Bay being bothered by those injuries, being less than 100%, and not really firing on all cylinders like they were in the postseason last year. I still think it's unlikely that they lose to the Eagles. But if they did, then the Eagles are on to the Packers, and we are on to whomever wins in the NFC West showdown on Monday, and they have one less day to prepare, which is big. Ike coming in, @Rob, do you think Deebo could go 1,000 yards receiving and 1,000 yards rushing and be the first receiver to do it? I think he's capable of it, yes. I do wonder if they'll continue to use him in this vein next year, or if they will attempt to bring in someone in the running back room, potentially Raheem Mostert on a one-year deal, that can fill that role, that can get to the edge and provide that speed that the 49ers covet for the zone running game around the edges. But I think he's capable of it. He would need to stay healthy all year, and the 49ers would have to really focus on getting him the ball. I mean, he was central to this year's frickin' offense like nobody else, and didn't even come close to hitting that 1,000 yards rushing. It would take a lot to get there. Karthik, @Rob, what is the news on Trent playing this Sunday? Look to the practice reports. The language that Kyle Shanahan used last week seemed to be that Trent was going to play. I was surprised when he didn't play on Sunday, when he was unable to go. Therefore, I'm not looking to Coach Shanahan and his language this week. This week, I'm relying on the practice reports. All I need to see is a limited practice from Trent Williams Thursday, and he's a lock to play. Thursday's the day where he's a freaking lock. If he's limited Friday, that's tough. Friday's a glorified walkthrough. So if you can't go through a glorified walkthrough at full participant, then you're probably going to be listed as doubtful. And if he's listed as doubtful, the chances of him playing are very, very slim. Karthik, @Rob, what are your predictions for this game, Rob? Well, let me just say I predict Trent Williams will play, and I think that makes a huge difference. I think this is going to be close. I do think that the 49ers get the run game going. I do think that the Niners control time of possession, but I also believe that Dak Prescott and that very vibrant passing attack will be able to put up some points on the 49ers and potentially make a shot at a comeback late in the game, even if we have controlled them for the vast majority of 4 quarters. So I think this one gets tight going down to the wire, and the Niners pull it out. I have yet to make any official prediction, and I will put some thought into it before I do. Nick coming in, @RobShoe, did Arizona do anything to shut down the Cowboys that we can't do? No, I don't think so. I think that we have a reasonable proximity to the speed that Arizona has on defense. They may have a step or two with some of those very quick, somewhat small linebackers that they have there that can fly around the field and make tackles. But I think that we have, if Alshire is playing, I think we have a pretty elite linebacker group ourselves. Fred Warner is lights out in coverage. And so, I think that, yeah, we can get after the passer. We have shored up the outside cornerbacks. To have Ambry Thomas and Emmanuel Mosley come on this time of year, goodness gracious, how perfect that timing was. Chris Smith, at Rob Shue, remember when T.O. stood on the star? Yes, I do. I mean, it was sort of a cheap shot to do that, and I'll admit that I freely loved it at the time. I absolutely love it. Karthik, at Rob, what are your stat line predictions for Jawan Jennings in this game? That's an interesting ask. I would guess that he's probably more in the range of 3 catches for 45 yards, hopefully a touchdown in this one. He has emerged as a red zone threat. He has great ability to high point the ball, to make tough catches in space, in coverage. I think there's a good chance he gets into the end zone again, but I wouldn't expect the same statistical game that he had last week against the Rams. That was a bit of an outlier for him. Rick, at Rob, not a question, but I believe Juice is underrated. The guy does everything. Was genuinely impressed watching him glide across the field pre-snap. I'm telling you, Juice is a freaking Swiss Army knife. The guy was our holder in the last game. He deserves more credit. Rick, you are absolutely right about that. Chester Gray, at Rob, Cowboys defense are going to make business decisions. You mean when they come up against Deebo Samuel running at him like a freaking freight train? They might, but it's the playoffs. People are going to be pretty fired up. Pretty fired up indeed. Looking for that at Rob. Emmanuel coming in. At Rob, I was at the Ram game on Sunday. Hopefully our fans travel to Dallas and take over. Yes, indeed, that would be glorious. Take over Jerry World. Make him sad. Sad to see all that red. Sad that he went with the choice of the whiteout game to make the contrast between white and red just that much easier to see on television. Red Eye pointing out, we don't want to go to Green Bay. It's 22 degrees Fahrenheit today, and it'll probably be colder in another week and a half. I'm telling you. I am telling you. Andre coming in, one of our sneakerheads. I think I saw Deebo looking up at the heavens at the start of the second half. Does he have a direct line? The man must, because of the season he's having. He's a very positive dude. Very positive dude. Follow him on Instagram if you don't, because he's constantly putting out positive messages. I mean, it's inspirational to see. You can see that he is firing himself up. He's putting positivity out there into the universe all the time and then seizing it. He is materializing his own positivity. Karthik, at Rob, Dak is actually a bigger guy than you think. He is a hard guy to take to the ground. Thoughts? Agreed. I think that it's going to be a challenge for our defensive line. I do think that our front four is capable of it. A big man like DJ Jones isn't going to have a problem taking Dak down, but you hope that Eric Armstead has another electric game. That Bosa, after bottling up all of his production for 3 weeks, just barely getting a half sack last week, will be like the olive jar where one comes out and then it just spirals and he gets 3. Let's hope for it. Jesse, at Rob Shue, I heard we may get Trey Sermon back. He could help give Mitchell a break. He was activated today. This was the last opportunity that the Niners had to activate him. Otherwise, they would have had to shut him down for the season. They opened his practice window 3 weeks ago, had to either activate or IR for the rest of the year. I don't know if he'll be active on Sunday if the other backs are healthy. If you have Elijah Mitchell starting, you have Jeff Wilson Jr. Active and healthy as long as that knee is good to go, and JaMychal Hasty as the third down back. My guess is those would be the 3 in uniform on Sunday. but I'd be excited to see Trey out there. Hopefully he is fresh. Trey Sermon, that is. One Bad Hawkeye says at Rob, can Jimmy lead the team to the Super Bowl and redeem himself from the bad throw to win the game? Is he capable of it? Is this team capable of it? I say yes. Is it likely? Is it what I'm, predicting as the probable outcome for this postseason? Probably not. But there's a hell of a chance, and that's all you need in the playoffs. The playoffs, there's no one who is favored above all else to win this whole thing this year. It is going to be a crapshoot who ends up in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl come February. And the Niners absolutely have a shot at it. They have a defense, they have a run game, and they have a quarterback who at times is very efficient, and that's a winning recipe. Exeter coming in at Rob, our punter took a headshot. Yes, and that is why Robbie Gould deserves NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. The man came in and punted and had a 45-yard average on 2 punts. Forget about it. He hit all his kicks. All of his kickoffs were great. Robbie Gould. How about him for stepping up? Ike coming in at Rob Shue. I want to see all the home teams lose so the Niners get a home game. Wouldn't that be sweet? Wouldn't it be sweet to have one more at Levi's and then one more home game in LA for the Super Bowl? Javier Rios, one of our sneakerheads here on the channel at Rob. Let's say Jimmy gets us and wins the bowl. You think they keep him another year? This is the only situation I think they keep Jimmy Garoppolo next year. And think about this. Number one, you win a Super Bowl. Like, who's complaining at that point? Honestly. Do you know how hard it is to win a Super Bowl? Do you know how long it's been since we won a Super Bowl? 27 freaking years. 27 years since we won a Super Bowl. If we get one, it wouldn't be my first choice. I think you still probably want to move on, but I would not fault the 49ers for doing it. How do you move on from a Super Bowl winning quarterback? In particular, if he plays a key role in making and winning the Super Bowl, all you have to do is sign him to a 2-year extension, bring down the cap number for this next year, make it reasonable, make it more fitting to the style of quarterback that he is, and then you still have the option to trade him later on and move on to Trey the next year. I think you could see that, but only in the case of a Super Bowl win. AJB, at Rob Shue, win playoff mode. How the turntables have turned. Indeed, the turntables are rotating regularly. All right, I am going, here we go. Nick coming in for one, and then I'm going back over to the previously submitted questions, and I'll be back. Nick Donald coming in at Rob Shue. How is DeMeco Ryans going to make sure we get pressure on Dak? Primarily, I would envision this being just the front four attempting to get pressure on Dak. But much like what you saw against LA, a few well-timed blitzes, whether it is Fred Warner, Al-Shaair, Jimmy Ward, Jaquiski Tart, if Hufanga is healthy enough to go this week, any of those players could be used in a late developing blitz to attempt to confuse Dak Prescott. And again, critical to making that effective is getting the Dallas Cowboys into 3rd and long situations. So it is complementary style on defense. They must contain the run game, because otherwise we will get eaten up by the run game and the play action that results off of it. If they can make Dallas one-dimensional, getting after the passer will be that much easier. All right, I will be back to your questions in just a second. I'm going back in to talk about Micah Parsons, the most talented man on that Dallas defense, and he's only a rookie. This one comes in from Swan Song again. Will Micah Parsons be able to limit Elijah Mitchell from getting yards after first contact? I'm making content. They are making contact. Yes, violent contact. To some extent, I think that he will. And don't jump all over me in the chat there. Let's look at Micah Parsons and the season he has had so far. He was the number 12 overall pick in the draft this year. For any of you that are not familiar with Micah Parsons, we haven't come up against him yet in this season. He has 84 tackles. 64 of those are solo tackles. 20 tackles for a loss. That's the key stat. Hang your hat on that one. 20 tackles for a loss. Just remember that. I'm coming back to it. 13 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 3 pass breakups, and 30 quarterback hits. That 20 tackles for a loss was tied going into Week 18. Again, he didn't play Week 18, but 20 tackles for a loss tied with TJ Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers for the NFL lead heading into Week 18. Obviously, he didn't end up there because TJ Watt did play against the Ravens. Parsons missed the game because of COVID in playing the Eagles. It is those tackles for a loss that really concern me and the 49ers run game. The answer to this, I believe, is Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel, not Kyle Shanahan, not the man calling the plays, but the one who designs the run plays, the one who draws them up, the creative mind behind the genius. I expect some extremely creative looks from McDaniel that create confusion for the rookie. You have a couple of players that the 49ers can use as decoys to make it seem as if we are running in one direction and then take it the other. Follow Juice to the ball. Many people have said that, and it's often true. But you can then use Juice as a decoy and set that up. Same is true for Deebo Samuel. If you have he and Elijah Mitchell in the backfield, eyes are on Deebo. Then you give it to Elijah. You have George Kittle, again, as a lead blocker. Most of the time, the run's going to follow George because he's a great blocker. You want him out there in space on the second level. But you can use that to your advantage. I fully expect Mike McDaniel to be in his bag, having put together a creative game plan, and Kyle Shanahan executing those game calls, those play calls to perfection, and really just having their heads spinning. You know, this is a matchup of Dan Quinn against Kyle Shanahan. Gonna be interesting how that turns out. But I'm more interested in what Mike McDaniel draws up before the game, not how Kyle calls it in game. I would think that the 49ers would be game planning around Micah Parsons specifically. Going on to the next one here from Nicoya's Finest. Again, coming in via Twitter. All the questions did this week. Do you think it's possible for the 49ers to pull an upset in Dallas, assuming we get Trent Williams and Azeez Al-Shaair back? Yes, absolutely is my answer. I'd go further to say that the Niners, who are 8-3 over the last 8 weeks, the best record in the NFL over that span, they're peaking at the right time. The run defense in the second half of the season has been phenomenal. If they can make Dallas one-dimensional and get after Dak, I think they can slow the Dallas offense. The question will be, can they keep Dallas's defense honest with some shots downfield to open up the run game? If they can do all of those things, I think they can win without either of those players. It's going to be hard. It would be a travesty to have Trent Williams out for a second week. He hasn't played a playoff game since 2015 with the Washington football team. You know he is aching to be out there. You know he's going to do everything in his power to rehab this week and be out there on the field. But this game should be about the Niners' run-first identity, playing the time of possession game. Get physical with Dallas and wear them down very much in the same way that we wore down the Los Angeles Rams. Out-physical them. Definitely easier done with Trent Williams on the left side and Al-Shaair at linebacker laying hits, setting the tone on defense. But I think possible even without those guys. Getting back into your comments here, the live ones, Mr. Postman at Rob. Hasty or Wilson Jr. as the backup running back going forward? I think this one played out. Hasty got far more snaps in the Los Angeles Rams game, but we were behind in that one. So in a comeback effort, you're going to have your third down running back on the field far more than your backup running back. So I do think that that contributed to seeing more Hasty than Jeff Wilson Jr., but I also did read a piece this week that mentioned Jeff Wilson Jr. did have some nagging, soreness in that knee injury. Let's remember, the dude had surgery this preseason and came back. So, yes, I think that you'll probably see more of Jeff Wilson Jr. in this one unless we're behind. I think Jeff Wilson Jr. is still the second string running back and Hasty the third down back. Drew YC at Rob Shue. Deebo needs to stand on the star. I'm not giving him any locker room stuff. I'm telling you. Chris Smith at Rob. It made me smile to see he did it twice too. That was probably in reference to something I did 15 minutes ago, so I cannot speak to it, but I love it. I love it. All right, I am going to catch up in the comments. I realize I am far behind, and I got to stay current just to make sure that there's no strangeness going on in the chat. You know, you could have a Cowboys fan get in here, and you don't want that kind of stuff. You don't want a Cowboys fan talking too much trash. If it's respectful, that's okay. We'll take it, but not if it's disrespectful. Here we go. Fosse at Rob. Sorry if you answered this already, but who wins the Kyle versus Dan Quinn battle this Sunday? I'm going to get to that in just a minute, Fosse. I have a topic about that one. I mean, you could probably guess who I think is going to win it, but I'll leave the suspense out there. One Bad Hawkeye at Rob. Can Jimmy lead the team to the Super Bowl and redeem himself from the bad throw to win the game? I did answer that one, and I do believe it is possible. I appreciate you putting it back in again in case I missed it, though. Karthik at Rob. Name 2 players on offense and 2 players on defense for game ball MVPs this week in the game that hasn't happened yet. I mean, that one's a little hard. I'm going to go from the Rams game and go game balls in the Rams game, just so I don't make any weird predictions that, you know, set off any weird mojo. I don't want to be the locker room fodder for the Cowboys. So I got to give a game ball to Jimmy for not folding. I got to give a game ball to Deebo. And then on defense, you got to go Ambry Thomas for the game-sealing interception. And then Eric Armstead would get the other one for me with the monster sack game that he has. The guy has had a great year, and it was quiet for most of the year, but is now getting the recognition that he deserves. People are finally coming around to that. Matthew Mears at Rob Shue. Looks like Tart will play Sunday. MRI is negative for serious damage on groin. I really hope he's out there. That would be a big boon for the run defense. We've got someone that had to be put in time out just spamming the chat. Get out of here with that. Get out. I mean, you know, when it's us spamming the chat about a W, that's okay. But if you come in here to talk some trash and spam, yeah, then you're timing out. And then if you violate again, then, you know, maybe out for the rest of the year. At Rob Shue, pronounced Ike Dragon. Ike Dragon. All right. Ike. Thank you, Ike. I appreciate the pronunciation, and I'm glad I stumbled across that one to get it right. Ike. All right. Looking for those comments coming back through. All right, I'm going to get back over into the previously submitted ones real quick. We got Rye3211 at Rob Shue. Micah Parsons is good, but I imagine they will scheme to avoid him like they do Aaron Donald. I think you're spot on about that. I was talking about Micah Parsons just a minute ago. That could be when you put the chat in. Yes, I think we will scheme around him. You may run directly at him, just like you would run directly at Aaron Donald. That's one way to take a ferocious pass rusher out of the game, is run at him, and run at him considerably. User Grad coming in at Rob Shue. You think they'll tell Jimmy G to throw away from Trayvon Diggs' side of the field? I don't know. There's a lot of yards given up by that young gentleman. Yes, he has a lot of interceptions, but he also gives up a lot of receptions as well. I think you've got to attack him. He's a risk taker, and I think you have to go right at him in this one and count on the fact that you can put him in a poor position. Shemaiah at Rob, I understand your point, but Micah hasn't forced a running back or a running game, hasn't faced a running back or a running game like ours. Mitchell runs physical, and I expect Jeff Wilson to get in on the action this week for the inside zone power run. I hope you are right about that one, and I do think we will test him in that regard. And I agree, they have not faced a team like the 49ers. HR at Rob, Will Greenlaw dial it back just a bit this game. I don't want his emotional penalties costing us. Yeah, that was his first game back, and I do think that the emotions spilled over for him. You could assume that he'll have gotten that out of his system and that coaches will be on him about that one. AJB, at Rob, whoever is spying Deebo will have nightmares. He has to guard the run, routes, and passes. Get your popcorn out. Deebo is just a freaking monster, an absolute beast. And I look forward to seeing him truck a couple of Dallas defenders. You would absolutely think he will be the focus of the offense yet again. And like in other matchups, he's unstoppable regardless of what you do against him. Luke Walsh, at Rob, what will the Niners do about the Cowboys' unusual rush with several players standing in A and B gaps? I actually have that question, Luke, coming up here. So I am going to get to that one. It's out of order, but I'm getting to it right now because it is, I believe that's you on Twitter, right? Lukey, same thing. I am going to that question right now. Okay, this one was phrased in a different way, so I rewrote it a little bit, but I'm going to read both the way I rephrased it, and here's the original one, so don't read what's on the screen right now. I just watched a few Cowboys replays. Their talented D-line usually has a few defenders in a three-point stance. The rest stand, threatening A and B gaps. This seems tailor-made to stop the 49ers' quick middle passes. What else can the 49ers do besides running to mitigate this attack? So I rephrased to make it fit on the screen. The Dallas defensive line alignment seems tailor-made to stop the 49ers' quick passes over the middle. What can the 49ers do besides running the ball to mitigate this attack? Luke coming in via Twitter. In answer to that, I think you have to take some deep shots to keep the defense honest. You saw Arizona do that to the Dallas defense a considerable amount. Now, I do think that Arizona has some better speed guys on their team that are quicker, but the 49ers and their wide receivers are deceptively good at the deep ball. We just don't use them for that very often. Brandon Ayuk, a very talented deep ball receiver. Deebo Samuel, very talented deep ball receiver. George Kittle, very talented deep ball tight end. So I think that you have to keep the defense honest by taking those shots. The question is, Arizona was able to do it, but the 49ers with a less mobile quarterback, I mean, that may be an understatement, but in comparison between Kyler Murray and Jimmy G is the less mobile quarterback of the two. The question becomes, will the 49ers have time to take those shots? Those shots may have to come off of play action to freeze the pass rush a beat or two. And again, all of that comes back to the 49ers setting this up by getting the run game going. By getting the run game going, that is the way in which you open up the defense to be vulnerable to your passing game. Everything builds off the run in Kyle Shanahan's offense. All of that play action is far more successful when the run game is churning. So I would expect the 49ers to do everything in their possible, everything within their ability to make that happen. Mike McDaniel getting creative with the play design. Kyle Shanahan dipping into his bag to call the correct plays, to get Deebo going, to get Elijah Mitchell going, to get Jeff Wilson Jr. going on some power runs. I expect this to be a dominant performance by the ground game, and it will be helped significantly if we have the big man grading the road out there, Trent Williams. That's going to be a big key for the 49ers. Getting back to your comments, you know I got to bring the super chats in first and foremost. Got to get priority for the paid comments. You know that's only out of respect. Brittany coming in. What's up, Brittany? This year, as a fan base, we discussed how big of a loss Robert Saleh and Mike LaFleur were. A departure of Adam Peters and Mike McDaniel, would it be a bigger blow? Yes, it would. Yes, it would. I am fearful of losing either one of those individuals this year, and both of them have interviews lined up. My hope is that Mike McDaniel is awkward enough in interviews that he doesn't get offered a job, that they're like, well, we don't really want you as a head coach of our franchise because you're a little bit weird. Good. Good. That works in our favor. He's a genius. Yeah, he's a little weird. Yeah, he's strange to hear at a presser. He's got some funny jokes, but he's not like your typical football guy. He seems much more like the heady dude that he is. And people make fun of him for the way in which he talks and how it's sort of I don't know what the term would be, but he gets some flack even from 49ers fans. My hope is that style of communication counts against him in his interviews, because he's not going to be eligible for a lateral move. Kyle Shanahan can block a lateral move from offensive coordinator to offensive coordinator. A situation that would be very fearful would be DeMeco Ryans getting a head coaching job and then him pulling him as his offensive coordinator, which I believe he would have the right to do, as they did with LaFleur leaving with Robert Saleh. But the Robert Saleh departure, we were just saved by the fact that DeMeco Ryans came in and was lights out as a rookie defensive coordinator. Adam Peters is a tricky one because you don't know just how many of the draft picks were him standing on a soapbox, beating his chest for those guys. But I get the sense that a lot of the later round picks that have come through have been Adam Peters. And the 49ers valued him enough to give him a promotion, a pay raise, a new title. But if somebody offers him a GM position, that would be tough to pass up. I mean, really tough to pass up. There are only 32 possible GM positions in the league. And so if you get offered one of them, even if it's for an atrocious team, that's why people take those jobs. That's why they're there for a short time. I would like to think he'd stick it out to be there for Trey Lance in his first season starting. AJB, at Rob Shue, wow, lots of Cowboys fans up in here. Wait till they see how many fans in the stadium this Sunday. Yes, I have noticed a few Cowboy fans in the chat. A couple of them I had to put on timeout. I apologize if I missed any of them that should have been put on timeout and were not. You let me know if you see them there in the chat. All right, I'm getting back into the previously submitted questions. Again, if you want to put your question in the chat, hit the @RobShue. I'll be back over there in just a moment. Getting back up into the order of these questions. All right, this one also came in from Luke. We're double dipping on Luke because I thought they were good questions. But again, I had to shorten it down, Luke. So here was the original one. The Cowboys will have 8 days rest at home after an easy blowout win versus the Eagles, who were resting starters. Essentially, the Cowboys had a partial unofficial bye. The 49ers must run to keep our defenders' legs fresh. How do you see the run game going versus the Cowboys defense? I mean, I'll start with, it was just the 1 day of additional rest, which counts, right? That is 1 day of sleep, and sleep is the most important thing when it comes to recovery in the NFL. So an extra day of rest is an unfair advantage, but I don't think it's not like having played on a Thursday and getting 3 extra days of rest. It's not like having a full bye where you have 2 weeks. So it's a slight edge, but I agree that the 49ers have to get the run game going against the defense. The weakness for the Dallas Cowboys is defending the edges and specifically the right side. The left side of the defense heading right for the 49ers. So running to the right will be the key for the 49ers. Running behind a couple of guys that are much better run blockers than pass blockers. So it works out for the 49ers to run behind Daniel Brunskill and Tom Compton to slow the pass rush on that side. And I would say avoid Micah Parsons whenever possible. The guy does have 20 tackles for a loss, and you cannot have the run game stopped behind the line of scrimmage. The 49ers cannot get behind in down and distance. That is Elijah Mitchell's specialty, is running for at least what is blocked on each run play. You've heard Coach Shanahan say it over and over and over again. I believe this sets up as a strength against weakness, where it's the 49ers' strength in running the game against Dallas's weakness in defending the run. I would expect Dallas to try and overcompensate for that weakness by sucking up defenders and trying to sell out to stop the run. If they do that, if they can stop the run, Can Jimmy make them pay deep? Because obviously when you bring defenders up to the line, you become vulnerable behind. And you certainly have Diggs, who is capable of picking off some passes, but he's also capable of getting beat deep. So you got to take your shots. The question will be, is Jimmy efficient enough to deliver on those big shot plays when we take them? Going into the next question here, where do you think our biggest advantage is as a team and our biggest disadvantage as a team in this game? This is Chris Royal coming in via Twitter, one of our sneakerheads here on the channel. I'm going the strategy route on this one in my answer. I think our biggest advantage here in this game is DeMeco Ryans versus Kellen Moore. So far, Dallas has struggled to get their offense going against more talented playoff caliber teams with playoff caliber defenses. The 49ers defense has been lights out in the second half of the season. Aside from the final game against an extremely depleted Eagles team, the Dallas offense has been less effective in the second half of the season. Advantage 49ers. The disadvantage, this one is also in reference to that earlier comment where I said I'd hit on this. I do think Kyle Shanahan versus Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn did seem to have a step. He seemed to be a step ahead of Kyle Shanahan back in that 2019 matchup where Julio Jones was just unstoppable. I think he had close to 140 yards receiving and a touchdown. I would argue that that was more about just how unstoppable Julio Jones was that season, that game, than about Dan Quinn out-scheming Kyle Shanahan. But certainly the offense did struggle in that one. And so you wonder if there's a mental edge there for Dan Quinn. I'm counting on the combination of Mike McDaniel and Kyle Shanahan to be the matchup that's enough to overcome what Dan Quinn knows about Kyle Shanahan's tendencies. Hopefully, Kyle is aware of the fact that Dan Quinn was a step ahead of him in 2019, and he plays games with him this time around. All right, we only got one more topic to hit, so I'm going to get back into your comments and finish out there before I get into the final topic. Again, got to look at this. Joe Stull coming in as the newest member of the Sneakerhead crew, the Sneakerhead Army. Welcome, Joe. Welcome to the community. I celebrate the fact that you are here. I appreciate everyone who is watching this. If you're enjoying this content, please do hit the like button. It means a great deal in boosting my signal. If you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you want to take it one or two steps forward, hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. Follow me on Twitter because I announce when I'm going to go live. And I ask for your questions and submissions. And the last way that you can support the channel is what Joe did here, becoming a sneakerhead. Once you hit subscribe, that button turns into join, and then you get some options for joining the channel, and that is the way in which you can support me and what I'm doing here and become a part of the community. Joe, I appreciate it. Brittany coming back in. Brittany Brown. Rob, keep it a buck. Is it bad that I haven't even shown enough concern to hop onto random Cowboys chats because I am treating this like a Week 19 game? I love the confidence. I think that is just fine. I love that people are so angry with Dallas that they just want us to go whoop them badly. And no, I think you can stay away from those Dallas chats because they're going to be filled with negativity, and you can just come on here and stick with the positivity. Joe says it feels good, baby. Thank you, Joe. Thank you for joining the channel, and thank you for being a part of the chat tonight. It is much appreciated. All right, I'm scrolling back up a bit to get some of these @RobShoe comments in. Again, if you just joined the stream and you want to get a comment read on this one, hit that @RobShoe. Type in @RobShoe, and then I will know that you are asking me. That's it. 420 Savage. I like that. Sneakerhead thought it was Egghead. No, I'm the Egghead. They're Sneakerheads. That's how that works. Getting back into it. Francisco Montana @Rob. Do you think Dallas D knows who Deebo is? They better. Everyone in the league knows who Deebo is, and Aaron Donald regrets his decision to announce that he didn't know who Deebo was. I mean, ever since he said that, he must have wanted to eat those words. It has cost him significantly. I am guessing that his pride has taken quite the hit in answering those questions. And I'm guessing that he's getting a lot of shots from fans. Mav, at Rob, the last 3 times these two teams met in a playoff game, the winner went on to win the Super Bowl. Let's go Niners. Man, it is playoff football, baby. We are in the playoffs with a chance. With a chance. With a chance at everything. A chance at, I mean, all the possibilities are in front of us, people. All the possibilities are in front of us. Ike coming in. With all the trash talking, never let it get physical. Keep it nice. Yeah, I would agree with that. On the field, right, you want to be the team that infuriates the other opponents and gets them to throw their fists, and you don't respond. You get the penalty. You get the flag. Don't be the second guy to respond to a shove, to respond to an open-handed slap, and be the one that gets penalized for it. But, like Jawan Jennings, block physically enough that you force them into uncomfortable conversations where they're aggravated and when they lose their cool. Darren, at Rob, love you on Grant's show. I only think it's a matter of time until you're picked up by a major network. Love your analysis. Darren, that's the dream, right? That is absolutely the dream. Hey, if it can work for some of those guys at ESPN, why not me? Why not me? That's my question. Finding the at Rob Shoe, Francisco, Montana, at Rob. I think you have a few new Cowgirl subscribers. I tell you, I am not personally using the Cowgirls insult because, you know, it's a little dated for today's standards, right? So as a public figure, I can't use it. I don't fault any of you for using it. It was a term of endearment when I used it back in the 90s. And I don't want to give any locker room fodder. I'm keeping my karma good on my end, but you guys can keep it coming in the chat. Nick, at Rob Shoe, do you think we see Trey Lance in any capacity in the playoffs? Man, I don't know. I still think you could bring him in to add something in between the 40s, second and short. Bring him in for a frickin' play action pass. Man, that would be sweet, but it just seems like Kyle Shanahan is gripping closely to Jimmy Garoppolo, and honestly, after that performance, hard not to understand why. Brittany Brown, at Cowboys, only winning 4 playoff games in 25 years. Just throwing a little salt in the wound, Brittany. I love it. I absolutely love it. Hound 594, at Rob, should we play contain on Dak? Are you asking whether we should actually have a spy in there? I mean, I think you have to contain the edges. You can't let him get out, but he's not a Kyler Murray. He is not a Russell Wilson. He will damage you with his legs, but not to the extent, I think, where you have to specifically game plan for it. You do have to be aware of it. The wide 9 is susceptible to the run and susceptible to quarterbacks breaking contain if the edge rushers get too far downfield. So I do think that Bosa, and I mean, when Armstead plays outside, he certainly has to be aware of it. When Samson Ebukam is out there on the outside, he has to be aware of it. Yes, the edge rushers must be aware of it and don't get too far upfield. Nick, at Rob Shoe, why not use Kittle as a running back? I don't think he gets up to speed as quickly as Deebo Samuel. When you see him used as a running back, he looks a little bit slow out of the gate. I think you want George Kittle to be out in open space or to have a head of steam going when he gets the ball. Either yak out in space on the second level or be moving when he makes the catch. Joe Stoll coming in with the super chat. Super excited for Sunday. How do you feel about going up against the Cards or Rams again? I don't think I can handle another LA game like last week. I would rather go up against Arizona than LA because I think it is extremely difficult to beat the same team 3 times in a row, 3 times in the same season. And we've beaten the Rams twice. Arizona beat us twice. I would rather go back and avenge those losses in Arizona. But part of me would like to have another home game at LA as well. But hey, we'll have that if we make it to the Super Bowl, right? Yes, indeed, we will. All right, I will come back to the @Rob Shoot, get into the super chats. HR, the Cowboys, like their fans, are soft and emotional. They are plagued by a history of underachieving. They are a coddled and soft Gen Z team. HR laying down the gauntlet there. I think that the 49ers are going to look to physically impose their will on the Cowboys, but I do believe that it will be a tough task. I don't think it's going to be easy. I don't think this is going to be a cakewalk type of a game. I don't think that we will dominate the Dallas Cowboys, but I will look for the 49ers to have a physically imposing game. Ryan Hess, got tickets to the game. Ryan, my man. Nice. He says, got tickets to the game. Dallas is going to be turned red. Really enjoy all the positivity and great content. Go Niners. Ryan, make sure you are loud in there. Make sure that any Niner fans you are near, stay positive. If the game unfolds in a way where we get behind, so what? You saw what the Niners were able to do against the Los Angeles Rams. We can and will do it again. Man, I'm excited for you, Ryan. Hell of a game to be there. AJ Silva, one of our sneakerheads, @Rob, how much trade capital is Jimmy G worth if Niners win one playoff game versus if Niners lose this Sunday? I don't think it changes a whole lot. I think what holds back Jimmy's ultimate trade value is his injury history. And that's not going to change. Teams are still going to be wary of that injury history. I still think it's a second and a fourth rounder for Jimmy. That was my prediction before the Rams win, and that is my prediction still. I may be, not taking into account just how emotional and impressive that win was, but I think NFL front offices are a bit more even keel when evaluating talent as opposed to us as fans. We are very emotional, and after that win, we think his value would have skyrocketed, but really it was a very Jimmy-like game. I mean, that was a vintage Jimmy performance. Making some very clutch throws. I mean, more clutch than a typical Jimmy performance in that regard, but some boneheaded plays as well. A little bit of vacillation between consistent and inconsistent, and then finished with a win, which he often does. Brian Welch, Rob, this is far as you ever going to get. Just be the best you can be here. Brian talking a little trash, and I love it. The Niners are going to bring their best on Sunday, and I hope that the Cowboys do as well. Yes, I do, because this one is going to be a monster game. That's why the NFL put it at Sunday, 1:30 p.m., because this is a prime freaking game. Mr. Postman coming in @Rob. Thanks for being such a good voice for the 49ers. You and Brian Peacock are the GOATs. I appreciate that. Yes, great podcast over there with Brian and Eric Crocker, one of my favorites out there. I think there are a lot of good dudes out in this space, and I'm a fan working with all of them. And there are a lot out there I haven't worked with yet that I look forward to collaborating with. Gizmo Maltese @Rob. Cowboys are just 6-5 outside their weak division. Can they stop our run? That'll be the question. You know they're going to sell out to do it. You know the Niners want to run. It's going to be the meeting of those 2 points, and the end result will determine the winner, I'd guess. Mav @Rob, I would love to see a Niners versus Pats Super Bowl. Ooh, that would be epic. There are a lot of good matchups that could unfold for a great Super Bowl. Brittany Brown coming back in. Thank you, Brittany. Since 2010, third seeds have not won the Super Bowl. Cowboys won a playoff game 4 times in 25 years. Third seed average 1.2 wins. Sixth seed 1.9 wins. Sixth seed reaches Super Bowl 9%. So you're telling me there's a chance, Brittany. There is an absolute chance that we can win this one, that we can pull this off and get to the next divisional round of the playoffs. I love it, Brittany. I love the positivity. I'm going to my last topic here, and then I'm going to do a dramatic reading of Ann Killian's article for anyone that wants to stick around for that. I would understand if you didn't, but I thought it was such a damn good article that I am putting it back out there. Here we go, getting into the last topic here before the dramatic reading, and it's a short one, ladies and gentlemen. This one comes in from Nick across the pond, and believe me, he was not serious when he wrote this. Don't put anything in the chat that disparages my man Nick. He's a friend. Dallas, isn't that a small town near Houston? Yes, it is, Nick. It is a small town just near Houston, just outside the bustling metropolis of Arlington, Texas. Arlington, which, of course, though, is no match for the robust city of Santa Clara, ladies and gentlemen. Santa Clara versus Arlington just doesn't have quite the same ring to it, does it? All right, I am going to do my dramatic reading, but as I come back into the chat, I see that I have here a super chat that I got to get to. You know I got to get to that, and then we will do our dramatic reading. Please, if you think that's ridiculous, please feel free to exit stage left, because I would understand. It's a reading. Vac29. What if Jimmy G turns into 2012 Flacco and wins the Super Bowl? Does Kyle keep him? And Cowboys were afraid to sell tickets over here because we always take over. Yes, we will take over. And I do think that that's the only scenario Jimmy G comes back, is if he wins a Super Bowl. And then I think you would extend him and make him less expensive and potentially bring him back. And there would be some uproar, but I would not understand it. It is so difficult to win a Super Bowl. If you win a Super Bowl, then it's okay to be irrelevant for a couple of years. Look at Kansas City. People still talk about them all the time, and they just got the one, right? Yes, one Super Bowl changes everything. I'd welcome him back. He would be a hero in my book. Even if he only passed 8 times in the Super Bowl, he would still be a hero in my book. Brittany Brown, at Rob Shue, why are Cowboys fans so uninformed? Or is that just a Texas issue? Brittany Brown throwing blows in the chat, and I'm here for it. Brittany, I appreciate you. Eric does as well. People in the chat love Brittany, as they should. Yes, indeed. All right, I'm getting into this dramatic reading here. I would understand if we drop off from 400 plus viewers all the way down. But if you enjoy this dramatic reading, then hit the like button, because I think this one is gold. So here we go. Let me put up the banner so that people who tune in for this know what the hell is happening here. This was a fantastic article that Ann Killian of the San Francisco Chronicle put out on Sunday night. I think it came out. And if you did not read it, this is your chance to hear the article. I thought it was brilliant. It covers both sides of the Jimmy G equation. I'm going to refresh my voice here. Here we go. Title of the article, he was unbelievable. Jimmy Garoppolo etches his name into 49ers lore. Inglewood, Los Angeles County. In the biggest game of the season, it turns out there was never any doubt who was going to be the starting quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo. It was always going to be Garoppolo. Torn up thumb and all. When did George Kittle know Garoppolo would be the starter? This week? Last week, Kittle said. We knew he was ready to go the whole week. We knew. And in a game that became an instant classic, a rivalry epic, played in a year-old Southern California stadium filled to the brim with red-clad 49ers fans, Garoppolo delivered a legendary performance. Leadership, toughness, everything you want out of a starting quarterback, defensive lineman Eric Armstead said. Along the way, Garoppolo channeled what the 49ers fans have long wanted most out of their starting quarterback. He tapped into his inner Joe Montana. Down a touchdown with time ticking down and the playoffs hanging precariously in the balance, Garoppolo directed an 88-yard do-or-die drive in which he was as cool as the other side of the pillow, and during which he might have even pointed out a celebrity or two in the stands, maybe Kate Hudson or Jamie Foxx. Garoppolo found Deebo Samuel for a 43-yard gain. 2 plays later, he passed over the middle to Juwan Jennings for a walk-in touchdown to tie the game, sending it into overtime. There, the 49ers milked the clock on a field goal drive and won 27-24.
They secured their playoff berth and a date with the Dallas Cowboys next Sunday. And Garoppolo, now 6-0 lifetime against the Rams, finally might have convinced the 49ers fans that he was the right choice. Then again, maybe not. The anti-Garoppolo contingent had plenty of ammunition in the first half. The 49ers couldn't get untracked when they had the ball, which wasn't often. Garoppolo was 9 for 12 for only 90 yards and, while being blitzed, threw a deep, wobbly pass that was intercepted by the Rams' Taylor Rapp. LA led 17-0 and had dominated to that point. The Rams' defense was teeing off on Garoppolo. The Rams felt so confident that Sean McVay ran into the end zone to celebrate a touchdown, a bizarre move for a head coach. The 49ers fans were fuming. They'd seen enough. It was obviously time for Trey Lance. Head coach Kyle Shanahan was clearly trying to throw the game by staying with Garoppolo. But football is a funny game. Plays that don't work set up other plays that do. Teams with leads get comfortable. Momentum is a real thing that surges when the defense makes a stop or a sack, when the offense begins grinding down the opponent. Garoppolo led the team downfield for a field goal at the end of the first half. The 49ers started the second half with the ball and marched down the field for a touchdown. And suddenly, it was a 17-10 game. When the Rams went 3 and out, it was clear the momentum had shifted. The narrative of the game and of Garoppolo's performance had turned inside out. Garoppolo had been confident all week that he could go. A game simulation Tuesday went well, and though he could feel pain in the thumb, he was ready to play with the help of some numbing agents and a brace. It was a matter of pain tolerance, he said, adding that post-game, "It feels great right now." Garoppolo embodies what this 49ers team is all about. Flawed, but resilient. Alternately brilliant and frustrating, but ready to keep fighting to the end. There were a lot of emotions, Garoppolo said. To come back, it took everything. We say that a lot, but this one really did. I felt it after the game. It was worth it, though. This is one of those games you won't forget anytime soon. The 49ers players fully believe in Garoppolo. Shanahan, even though he drafted his replacement 9 months ago, believes in Garoppolo and clearly believed he was the quarterback capable of getting the 49ers into the playoffs. He was unbelievable, Shanahan said. In beating the Rams for the 6th consecutive time, the 49ers have made them look like a team that doesn't quite fight to the end. The Rams won the division title because Arizona lost, but in the second half, they looked like a rattled team. Up a touchdown, they opted to play it safe and punt the ball back to the 49ers with plenty of time on the clock. Matthew Stafford, for all of his arm talent, makes some really bad decisions. He threw 2 interceptions, bringing his turnover total to 8 in the past 4 games. Adding to their discomfort were the ruckus 49ers fans who took over their breathtaking stadium. It's so cool to go into an opposing stadium and see half of it red, Shanahan said. I think our fans had 60% of the stadium, Kittle said. We could definitely feel their energy. Samuel thinks it was probably more than 60%. I feel like the Rams pumped noise in because there definitely weren't many Rams fans, Samuel said. By the end of the game, they were silenced. The 49ers fans were ruckus, and the embattled quarterback walked off the field and into the playoffs. End scene. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I mean, some people dropped off, but I think some people probably liked it because that was a hell of an article. I mean, one hell of an article, and I enjoyed dropping it out here. So I hope that you enjoyed hearing that. That was definitely a fun one to go through, a fun one to read. When I initially read it Sunday night, I said to myself, I got to get that out there for anyone else who hasn't heard it. So that was your chance. All right, I'm going back because I see there are a couple of super chats, and I got to hit those at a bare minimum, and then I'll get a couple of comments on the way out. We're just about at the hour 30 mark, so we will be wrapping up soon. I see here we got Carlos coming in. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Super Bowl champions. I'm telling you, we've got that kind of energy coming into this one. We are channeling 1990s 49ers energy. Yes. Yes. We are channeling that 1990s energy. And so that is bringing us back to a point where we are predicting Super Bowls. Troy, shout out to Rob. Great show, my friend. Much love. Troy, I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming in, and we will definitely be in contact. Troy does his own podcast, and I am looking to connect with him on that. I look forward to it. At Malk the Believer, one of our sneakerheads here on the channel, at Rob Shue. Hey, Rob, haven't been on lately, as been working overtime all week. Get that money, Malk the Believer. So how was it at the game, brother? Wish I could have went with you. Was amazing to watch on TV. COVID screwed my plans last week, and it may again. We shall see. It's not looking likely that Rob Shue will be in Dallas, and he wasn't in LA. I've had my fair share of great games. I am happy for everyone who was there. I had a chance and probably should have pounced on it, but things just didn't work out for my best friend whose young girls had been close contact with it, and he had to play it safe, which I totally understand. We've got a new sneakerhead on the channel, Dustin McCormick, coming in. Dustin, welcome to the sneakerhead community. Yes, we are proud to bring in another member. Brittany Brown back in. Cowboys, keep this energy. Niner fans travel well. Yes, they do. Kevin F. coming in. Jimmy makes game-winning TD drives look easy a lot. It's also what really separates Brady and all the greats. It's crazy that people think Trey or any rookie will be able to do that anytime soon. I think Jimmy does not get enough credit for his clutch play. I think he is a very polarizing individual, and therefore gets some unfair criticism because of just how polarizing he is. And people don't want to come to the middle where the truth is. They want to hang out on the edges. And we do this with freaking politics. We do it with team sports. We do it seemingly in more and more areas of our life. And it's very strange in that regard because the truth is, typically in the middle. The truth is not at the extremes. It's, typically closer to the middle. And that's the case with Jimmy. Is he inconsistent? Yes. Does he make some head scratching throws at times? Yes. Does he also come through in the clutch? Hell yes. Give him credit. Malk the Believer at Rob Shue. One comment. Ambry Thomas, baby. Celebrate the rookie. People were ready to write him off, but no, that was foolish to write him off. Nick talking about Rob, almost to 4,500. Hey, subscribe if you haven't already. We are on our way to 5K. Be part of the 4K crew. Mark at Rob Shue, how deflating is it for an offense in the Rams using a 6 to 7 lineman front and still couldn't stop our 4 rushing linemen? Very deflating. That would be extremely deflating if you are attempting to scheme around it and cannot stop it. Luke Walsh at Rob Shue. Seems like the 49ers are channeling 1989 energy. A rough regular season, squeaked into the playoffs, beat the Bears in icy conditions, beat Cincy in the Super Bowl. I'm telling you, I'm getting some energy out of this one. Leo, who was at the game. Leo, welcome to the chat. One of our sneakerheads here at Rob. We win a Super Bowl with Jimmy helping. I'm sliding him a brew, taking a deep ego swallowing gulp and gonna say, okay, champ, next year. Just don't smile after throwing a pick. Leo, here's to you and admitting that you can change if, in fact, Jimmy were to redeem himself, that you would be okay eating some crow, swallowing that gulp, swallowing that pride, and saying, hey, buddy, welcome back. Don't let your hatred get in the way of changing your opinion. Leo, thank you for demonstrating that. Leo, at Rob, faithful, new facts require adjusted opinions. Yes, this is what I was just trying to talk about. This is well said, Leo. We must always leave room for that. We are the tried and tested faithful that has witnessed miracles. Yes, we have. This game was a miracle. Leo coming in with the super sticker here. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. J510 at Rob Shu. Have you ever been to an NFC Championship game or Super Bowl? Yes, I have. I have been to multiple NFC Championship games. I think I'd have to go back and look in the 80s and 90s, but I would think I'm at 5 NFC Championship games and 2 Super Bowls now. Unfortunately, I got to look through my actual hand there. 0 for 2 in Super Bowls. I didn't make it. I made it to every single home game in 1994 at Candlestick Park. Did not go to the Super Bowl. That was back in the day. It was 1994. I was 15 years old. But I made it to every single regular season. So that would have been one of my NFC Championship games, was the 94 season. And then, yes, unfortunately, both of those Super Bowl losses. So I'm waiting. Still need that first in-person win. Thought I had it in Miami. Malk the Believer, one of our sneakerheads coming in. Hey, if the Niners win out and we get a home game somehow, let's get them tickets and go. Malk the Believer, I'm holding you to that. We will go. Absolutely. Closing out on positivity, Joseph. Great show, Rob. We're going to shut the Cowgirls down this week. We'll go even more positive than that. But thank you. I appreciate the great show shout out. Peter Lee coming in, sneaking in case I missed it earlier. At Rob Shu, wish Niners would be allowed to wear their 94 red throwback uniforms. I heard the NFL is not allowing any playoff teams to wear their throwback unis. Only the standard home or road white. That's a bummer, because after Dallas put in their petition to go with the all whites, I thought it was going to give us a chance. Sounds like the NFL wouldn't let that happen. The no fun league. I am telling you. You got to allow that, NFL. All right, here we go. Legends of 88 came in to pay money to talk trash. I got to allow it. You want to talk to trash? You want some locker room fodder? You got it. Here you go. Y'all corners about to get smoked. Are you sure you're watching the right corners? Are you sure you're not talking about Josh Norman? Because I don't think he's starting in this one. I think Ambry Thomas, the rising star, is going to be starting on one side. And Emmanuel Mosley coming back from injury and performing last week on the other. So you might be envisioning the wrong cornerbacks when you talk that level of trash. And you might be regretting it when we win. 7NP, but I appreciate the donation. 7NP. I don't want miracles that are caused by bad quarterback play. This isn't hating. They were able to pull it out this time, but the postseason is a different beast. Turnovers will kill you. We definitely have to hold on to the ball in this one. We must not turn it over and need to force some turnovers on defense. Again, I think the sack fumble is the most likely way in which we force a turnover against Dallas. Get home on Dak Prescott. Ike. The Niners are the best on the road. We have the record at 18 consecutive wins. How about that? How about them Niners? Brittany Brown. At Rob Shu, this chat is a microcosm of the game. Cowboys get punched in the mouth and they quit. Cowboy chat's way down. They couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle the smoke. I'm telling you. I am telling you. Well, I'm very excited for the game. This is going to be a hell of a matchup. I think it's going to be close. I think that the 49ers should be favored in this one. AJB coming in with positivity. You know I love to end that way, so I'm throwing it in here. Great show, Rob. See you on the next one. I will be back with Rando Commando doing the Between Two Beards episode tomorrow evening, 5 p.m. on this channel. We will be talking Cowboys. We will be talking Cowboys all freaking week, just like you're seeing all those highlights on the NFL channel and ESPN about those classic games in the 80s and 90s. I am telling you, that is what we are going to be talking about this week. This was a thrilling mailbag episode. Before you leave, if you enjoy the content, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. If you want to join and become a sneakerhead, we welcome you in that support as well. I'll be back tomorrow. Until then, cheers, 49er faithful.